Hello, this is Dr. Don Lynch. I'm here in the United States of America, Jacksonville, Florida. I want to speak to you about how to pray for fathering leaders. We are in a season of history, and God is raising leaders with a fathering spirit, not like King Saul, but more like King David. Not like religious leaders, but more like the King himself, Jesus of Nazareth. As we see these fathering leaders leading nations, regions, territories, coming into our own lives, strengthening us to endure the discipline that produces maturity, the kind of fathering leaders we need in this generation, we know that God is going to surround them with intercession. For more than 20 years of fathering leadership and 50 years of ministry, the Lord said to me, I will surround you with intercessors. I will assign intercessors to pray for your ministry. As they surround your ministry and provide this covering, they will eliminate smaller things that would distract you, take up your time, or limit and diminish your leadership. Do not attempt to go further than your intercession can go. Don't go to nations without the intercession in place to surround you as you go. I will raise up intercessors, but you must mature them and keep them focused. And so as a fathering leader, I have trained hundreds, even thousands of people in intercession and taught them how to pray with the passion of the Father. When His passion, that is the Father in heaven's passion, comes upon you, you will pray like Jesus prayed. You will pray like fathering leaders pray. And then you will understand how to pray for fathering leaders because you feel the heart of the Father for them. Pray for your fathering leaders because you will see that like flies flying around their lives and around their heads, there are small things, small and demonic attacks and assignments, smaller issues in the spirit and the natural that prayer can drive away. Like a mighty wind, your intercession will blow those smaller issues away from His face, so out of the field of His vision, so that he is not distracted by small things when God has called him for bigger and greater and more authoritative leadership. Now, of course, if those flies and smaller issues are in his life, he will deal with them because he is mature and he's a father and he understands the responsibilities of life. But because he's dealing with smaller things, he cannot remain focused on what's next and bigger things to which God has called him as a leader. When you see your fathering leader as being expanded, as being exalted, as being given greater responsibility, your intercession becomes even more important. This means you're being called to step up in intercession, to deal with these small things that you can deal with. You can win these smaller battles so that he can engage with principalities, rulers, and cosmic dominators, that he can step into the issues that will influence a region, a territory, a nation. This is your great responsibility and privilege, and you'll feel the heart of the Father in heaven for the heart of your own spiritual father. Pray for his family, because the enemy will definitely attempt to touch his family to distract him emotionally, mentally, to weaken his will so that he is given to things that are distracting from the higher calling of his apostolic or prophetic life. A fathering leader will always be engaged with those he is fathering, focusing his energies, his passions on things that will cause them to mature and to expand in their own destinies. But at the same time, he must be completely faithful to his family, his spouse, his children and grandchildren. And if the enemy can touch them, it can be a distraction that diminishes, that turns him from the thing that God has called him to do. When you see your fathering leader is being called to do greater, step up your intercession and cover his family. Lift their names before God and increase the covering, the surrounding that God has called you. Get in your place. One of the things about these kinds of intercessors is they are watchmen. And we hear the word of the Lord in the Old Testament that we must stand in the gap. The gap is the place left empty where your intercession must step in. The gap is the place where you step in and you make up what's broken or left unfulfilled or unfinished in a wall that surrounds that fathering leader. Now, Paul was a great fathering leader, and he asked for prayer many times. He asked the people for whom he was providing fathering leadership, pray for me. Pray for me while I'm in prison. Pray for me while I'm preaching. Pray for me when a great door has opened so that my ministry will be even more effective to touch nations. Pray for me, because as that door opens, there are also new and greater enemies. And when this time comes, you as the intercessor step up in your intercession and you cry out to God for your fathering leader. To understand this, you understand the law or the rule, the principle of the law of Christ in which you bear someone else's burdens. This means that a burden that your father may be bearing can come on your shoulders for your spiritual intercession, for you to pray the thing that needs to be prayed so that he is freed to carry another or greater burden on his shoulders. Now I pray for you right now that every burden on your shoulders that is not from the Lord, the ones you have taken on but are not your assignment, are removed. And now upon your shoulders, the burden of the Lord, the assignment of God, that you as the intercessor are praying for the things you should be praying for, that you are standing in the gap for the people and issues you should be standing in the gap for, that now there's no distraction on you and that your focus is on your fathering leader, his calling, his grace, his anointing, his authority. You are causing small things that would distract him to be dealt with in the Spirit by your own prayers. As you pray in the Spirit and you pray consistently, you pray by assignment, you pray in the night, you pray in the day, and you pray during the day because you are feeling the heart of the Father and the heart of your own spiritual father, and you are praying for things that if you do not pray will burden him. But as you pray, lift that burden, his finances, his family, his physical strength and health. These are burdens that you carry, and in so doing, you vastly increase the effectiveness of your fathering leader, and you mature your own life and bring your own spiritual and kingdom life into greater levels of revival and transformation. We are in a season when God is raising fathering leaders, leaders unlike in the leaders of the past. They're young, they're old, they're different in size, but you will recognize the fathering leader by the burden the Father in heaven puts on your heart. And he will call you to surround him, praying for him, his finances, his family, his physical body. Now pray that the effective door that's open among many adversaries, pray that door that is open will be a clear pathway a smooth pathway that he not only can walk forward, but run forward in times when running is necessary. Remember what happened when Moses sat on the rock observing a battle that the entire nation was fighting, and many were being driven back, and his own people were being killed, until Moses, as a fathering leader, began to raise his hands. He raised his hands and the battle would change. Remember, your fathering leader's position is always going to benefit your life, and that many of the things you enjoy in terms of your own protection and your own distraction and your own strength are coming into your life because someone is watching for your soul, preaching truth that you need to hear. And as Aaron lifted his hands, the battle would go in favor of the people of God. But he became tired. Your fathering leader will become tired as well. Remember that God is always asking us to do something we cannot do without the strength that comes through prayer. So what happened in the Old Testament is a man named Aaron and a man named Hur stood one on either side of Moses, and they lifted up his hands. And they held his hands in the air until the battle was not only victorious, but finished. And a great victory was won because the fathering leader had the support of other intercessors. Now I am challenging you to increase intercession in your own life, to focus your prayers on the fathering leader that God has standing before you. Hear the heartbeat of the Father in heaven. Hear the heartbeat of the fathering leader in your life. Understand from those passions, the burning desires of heaven and earth, understand how you will pray. Pray in that passion. Don't pray your own passion. Don't pray what you want. No, feel the heart of the Father in heaven for what he wants for your fathering leader, for you, for the kingdom, and let that burning fire be the motivation that you pray. Pray with that passion, and don't stop praying. It's like giving birth. You get pregnant with this burden. You give birth with your mouth, and as you pray out, you come to the point where you know this baby has been born. Then you get pregnant again, and you will pray to give birth. You will groan, and God will groan with you, and you will birth great purposes. There are fathering leaders for regions, certainly for individuals and ministries, but also regions and territories and nations. And as a fathering leader, these more than 25 years, I've been studying fathering. I've been fathering myself, writing books on speaking about fathering. And so I am bringing to you this message and challenge to pray for your fathering leader as you have never prayed before. And let this focused and effective intercession give your fathering leader the strength in every area of his life that he needs to finish, to fulfill. For we are in a day of great harvest in every nation on the earth. Will you pray? Will you remain strong and true in prayer and faithful? Because what you are doing in prayer is the most powerful thing on the earth. I'm Dr. Don Lynch. This is how you pray for fathering leaders.